This here is an egg layer box for my chickens in this pen. I don't like going in the pen to get the eggs. And as y'all know me, I create and build stuff out of junk. So I had this old box, so I made me a sliding door here. This is where you can slide it. I ain't got but one egg yet this morning. It's awfully early right now. And I just made me where I can slide the door open and slide it shut. Works pretty good. Now let's move on to the greenhouse. So what I got in the greenhouse, like I said, I really wasn't doing no growing, but I got some cauliflower and some Catarina cabbage I just started in the greenhouse this winter. These few onions over here was left over when I planted my round beds out there. I wished I had a whole bunch of them, because after this cold weather went through, and yesterday in between the rains, now we're getting rains, and yesterday it was cold and raining, but now it's getting back up in the 60s for this week's gonna be raining for 4 days in a row. So I got out there and I uncovered the straw off of my onions. Took one layer of had an old sheet over them, and then I had just frost cover, but now I left the frost cover on, but I removed the straw. But I don't know if my onions is gonna make it or not. And that really disappoints me. So I got in here yesterday. Now, a few days back, I just started some herbs. And I didn't have these on heat mats or nothing, because I was only trying to keep the greenhouse above freezing. Just because I got a couple of fig trees in here, and a couple of loquat trees, and then my spearmints that I'm playing with my pepper and tomato gonna plant out this spring. But anyway, I got in here and planted some herbs up the other day, but they may have been sitting on the heat mat, but the heat mat wasn't turned on because I wasn't trying to let them start at that time. And I actually was just gonna let them start on their own, all the herbs. And I got some iceberg lettuce here started. But with my onions, I'm afraid they ain't gonna survive the cold. It looks like to me they got damaged, so I don't know if they'll overcome it yet. It's too early to tell. So I got in here yesterday and started me some new onion seeds, but the thing is, all I had was, what was them called? Texas Grand is the only seeds I had to start. Actually, the Vidalia type onions that I had planted out there, I didn't have no more seeds, and I really hate that. So I hope some of them come back. All I got there is about 10 that I can stick in there when the weather permits. But anyway, whatever happens, even if they survive, they're gonna be knocked back down. So you really ain't gonna get no early onions, and probably not no big onions. Done too much damage. Another thing I changed in my greenhouse yesterday was my diesel heater. I raised it up because I got tired of having to get down there and almost lay on the ground to see what the controller here said, because the way the light hits it, you got to be looking at it straight to see it. So I raised it up a little bit so I could squat down. Doing that, I don't know if some of you seen the video where you can get the most heat out of your diesel heater by extending the exhaust pipe. I had it extended all the way down to one end and back, and then down and outside. Guys, that really puts off a lot of heat, but down here in the south, only reason I got a diesel heater so when I get plants started is to keep them above freezing, or if I done got some going on and it comes real cold, try to keep it 50 degrees. With that heater running, with that extended exhaust pipe on low, it only give me heat, that what I consider usable heat, where the pipe got real hot. was about the first 8 feet. Now when you turned it on high, if you'll go back and watch that video when I was showing it, testing it up, it would heat all the way down about 12 foot, pretty hot, and then coming back it was just warm. So if you were somewhere you was running that diesel heater on high all the time, yeah, you getting a lot of heat off that pipe. So I just redone mine. Since I raised it up, I took that out, and I still got about 5 foot of, I still extended it about 5 more foot here before it went out, but it's not up there running, so I still get heat, a lot more heat off the exhaust before it goes out the wall. So that's why I removed that. It ain't that it didn't work, it just, with me running my heater on low 90% of the time that I use it, you wasn't gonna get but just the first 6 or 8 feet here of heat, to where I was thinking I might could set plants over it and use it like a heat mat. Well, besides that was all in here in my way. When I set stuff down here, it had me some of my rooms. I redone that. But what a man could do is take a metal trash can and him some copper, and he could fill that up with water and have him a coil run through that water. You'd have to have your heater set up to where your exhaust went in, and you'd have to weld it or something where it wouldn't leak. Your exhaust would go in, go through that coil, and come back out the bottom, and then go outside. You could heat that can of water right there, and I think that's like 25 gallons. You could use one like that. That would heat that water, and that would give you off radiant heat when it's cold. And actually, that's something that I might do later, because that wouldn't take up that much room, and yet I think would benefit me more if I did want to do something in here on them extremely cold nights, or if you somebody up north where it stays cold a lot. That's a good idea that you could use. And if you ever do that, let me know you done it, or if you watching this and you tried it, let me know. But I know it'll work, because I got a 5-gallon bucket over here that's just got an aquarium heater, and it just keeps that 5-gallon bucket at about 90 degrees. Even when it was 9 degrees, that water was still around 90 degrees, because our electricity luckily didn't go off, and that puts off heat. So that's what I was doing out in the greenhouse this morning, just checking on things, feeding my butter infused corn to my chicken I'm fattening up. So let's move on. I think right now we're gonna go in. I got something coming in. I'm gonna try to change up and put a new heater in my side-by-side. So let's go there. Now guys, we're in the shed. And what I did, I'm just gonna have to show y'all and tell y'all what I did, because I spent an hour out here talking to y'all, and guess what? The camera wasn't even turned on. So what I got here is a indoor safe portable heater. This is the Mr. Buddy heater. This is the round one. Now I would love to have one of the old ones like I had years ago, because they was a lot smaller and put off the same amount of heat. But nowadays, with all this safety feature stuff they have to put in them, they just have to make them bigger. So what I did, you got the base here. It comes in the box. Let's see right here. That's the base that holds your bottle. If you're using a little 1-pound propane bottle. So I took that base. Well, first let me back up. These heaters is made to set just like that. And if it tilts any little amount, either way, it'll go off. Thanks to all the good safety mess in the world nowadays. So if you put this in your side-by-side and you try to ride, whether it tilts, whether you have it fastened permanently like I'm going to have, it don't matter if it tilts or not. If you hit bumps and it does like that, it's going to go off on you. So I disassembled this whole thing, which ain't nothing but screws going around this plastic here. You pop this little screen off, undo these screws, remove this front metal piece, remove the screws all the way around, which is easy to see, and it just comes apart. Here's the little safety feature. Y'all hear it? Well, if this thing hits a bump and does that, it's connected to 2 wires and it basically shuts your fire off, shuts your gas off, I mean. Or if this heater tilts over, you can hear it move in there. It's just a switch, cuts your gas off. So I went in there, removed the little safety feature, connected my wire back together to each other, because that's all this does is make a wire connection. I just dropped a screw out of there, guys, down into my coffee. But it ain't gonna stop me from drinking my coffee. But anyway, I had to remove that in order to make this work. Cause like I said, even if you ride and got it permanently mounted and you're riding any bumps, your heater's gonna go off. So stuff like that is why Papaw don't like all this safety crap nowadays. I know it has good reasons. Saves us a lot of times when we need it, but I just don't agree with all the safety. It's unnecessary. So back to what I did. I took the base and I took this is just a PVC 4-inch like sewer drain pipe, and I cut me a piece 2 inches long. But then I ripped that 2 inches because this 4 inches is too big around and a 3-inch wasn't big around enough. Actually, this is 4.5. I'm sorry, this is 4.5 inch. But I cut it where I could squeeze it together, and it set right down in that base, and the top set right on it. And I just took my little drill bit with some self-tapping screws and screwed it to that so that base can't come off. Now I'm going to show y'all a quick shot. I took it out there and I set it in my side by side and I fastened it down and I hooked the hose to it. The hose is going to hook to it because it's going to go to another bottle. I'm not going to use these right here because they don't last long enough and they get quite expensive. Now you can refill these. I'm not showing y'all how to do that because even though I do it myself, that's one thing I don't think a person ought to make a habit of. But I will tell you this. When I was on Amazon, and I'm waiting on that to be delivered today, and then we're going to continue on installing this heater in the side by side. They make these now that's refillable, and they got a bleed off valve where you can refill them just like refilling a propane tank, a 20-pound tank. So I ordered me one of these refillable ones. But what I ordered, and actually I can't remember if I got the 3-pound bottle or the 5-pound bottle, but it's a smaller propane bottle that holds 3 pounds or 5 pounds. I can't remember which one I ordered because my intentions is I'm going to put that tank up under the hood of my side by side. Because up under the hood, it's a space up under there. It ain't nothing there, just a radiator. And I'm hoping that I can mount that tank up under the hood, and it's a refillable tank. Have the hose run through the dash, and have this mounted on the dash. Now, I got a video before where I mounted the heater in my side-by-side that I had in there for years, and I just had a 20-pound bottle sitting in the passenger floor because it's basically always just me. But now that Colton's done got bigger, well, he needs room to put his feet, and we need to get that bottle out of there, and I can't have the heater mounted down there on the bottom where I did. I had one of these good old style heaters, nothing but a valve, ain't got no safety mess. Y'all see how much difference it is back in the good old days and what we're living in now? Well, this one, to mount it up where I wanted to mount it, I decided to go with this because I got another use for this. But anyway, it was mounted down in the bottom well with a passenger sitting over there. They can't sit because it gets too hot on their legs. So I'm trying something new here. So that's where we at this point. When my tank comes in, we'll move out there. And we're going to start installing this heater. Now also on my side-by-side, I've had a couple requests, and one of them was several months ago, and I just ain't never got around to it, but I'm going to throw this in this video. I got some videos on my side-by-side, just about everything on there I done myself. I custom made my little windshield and all, but they want to see how I made my little mud flaps. This is a Honda Pioneer 500 side-by-side. They want to see how I done my little mud flaps. I'm finna go show y'all a close shot of that, just for them two people that asked me. Alright guys, I got the hood off my side-by-side. So when my tank gets here, we're gonna try to mount it right in here. But far as the mud flaps, y'all see how flimsy them are? That way if you hit limbs, hit a tree, they don't break. They stay good and soft. Well, what that is several years ago I had to replace that slide out seal for a slide out on an RV. Well, when you buy it in a roll. Well, after replacing my slide out seals on my RV, I had that left over. And this is what I put on here for my flaps all the way around, front and back. Now they don't look that pretty now because I use just clear 100% silicone. And you can see after it's done, this has been done about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. But then I use little screws because that slide out has got this hard piece of plastic here where it runs into the track when you put it on your RV. Well, see, I just put silicone behind it and used them little screws and screwed right into that plastic. And them been on there years and ain't went nowhere. Also, the other question is about my doors. Well, this is doors that are bought for a Pioneer 500. They just Velcro straps around your bar, which of course that's under my custom made windshield. You'll have to go back and watch one of my ATV videos in my playlist that shows pretty much everything that I put on my ATV. The top up here, that ain't the Honda brand, that's a aftermarket brand. I'm one as long as it does the job. Cheaper I can get by, the better it is. But these little windows, they ain't hard door windows. Your door, you would just unzip it and open your door. And they go down and you put your little snaps on your door and they snap on there. Now when you look these up for your side-by-side, whatever company name they are, they have videos on how to install. Now this little piece right here, I think this is what they was questioning me about. I have some plexiglass because when you put these door kits on, when you shut your door, you had a hole right here. When you ride and the air just flows in there. So I took some plexiglass and I cut it and I took my heat gun and I bent it around right here. So when you shut your door, and you can zip these from inside when you get in. So when you shut your door, it's plexiglass, again, put silicone behind it, some self-tapping screws, and it's just screwed to that plastic door that's on the bottom that comes on your side-by-side, or a 500. And it comes and it closes in tight. That way, when you're driving, ain't no air gonna go in there and just blow up into your door. Another thing I do on the passenger side, Les Colton's with me, which Colton's, you know, always been little enough, he just gets in the Papaw side, the driver's side, and slides over. That's why he's done getting big enough we got to redo things. I put a torque strap right here. And the reason y'all see that torque strap on there is because when you pulling these side-by-sides on your trailer, any wind, you're gonna get wind because there's holes down under your firewall where your brakes, your gas pedal, there's always air can go through there. So you get air in there, and when you go, your soft doors will balloon out. So when I'm hauling it, I just stick a strap on here, and that keeps it from ballooning out when you're going down the road. And of course, since I don't ever get on this side, I just leave that on there all the time. Because when I'm hunting, some of you know my hunting nowadays, this is my hunting stand. When I hunt, I just pull out in the field and I sit my side by side. I can unzip that door just a little ways right there, and I'm sitting in there with the heater in there. And usually I got it to where wherever I think the deer gonna be, that little gun sticks right out that window right there. So that is the update. They was asking me, wanting to see the doors. I'm pretty sure they was more wanting to know what this plastic is. And the little rubber fenders. Now, I'm gonna go on and tell you, you ain't gonna buy this slide out rubber cheaper than you can buy a fender kit for your side by side. This is only on here because I replaced my seal on my RV and had this left over. Now, if you can get lucky enough to find somebody's got some left over, but don't think you're gonna go buy that rubber cheaper than you can buy a fender kit for your side by side. All right, guys, now we back in the house, and I'm gonna make me some pickled eggs. But I seen a little recipe the other day, which I'm tweaking, and I want to try these. But first, I want to show y'all something. I worked so hard yesterday making this Mardi Gras cake. Nah, that's a lie. I didn't make this Mardi Gras cake. Guys, my wife get these Mardi Gras cakes, and she gets them from South Louisiana. Someone delivers them up here. They take orders and they deliver them to us. But this one here's, as you can see, we was eating on this one yesterday after we got it. So I'm gonna cut a piece and show y'all the inside, and man, this is some kind of good. But that right there is a strawberry Mardi Gras cake. Now we had 3 of them delivered. Our daughter got one. I think hers was just the original Mardi Gras cake. We got the strawberry, and I can't remember what my son's got. He got some other different flavor. Now me, I'm from Northeast Louisiana, so I can't really even tell you much about Mardi Gras and why they celebrate it. Never been down there to a celebration. But I can tell you there's been many of people attempts to make these Mardi Gras cakes up north here, and they don't hold a light to these we get every year from down south. Now I don't know where my wife gets them from. I wished I did so I could tell you guys. Actually, I'm gonna put it on screen right here. It's OLS cookie jar. OLS Community Homes Incorporated. It's in Alexandria, Louisiana, and they have a website and a phone number. You might be able to order these. So, as always, if y'all do order one of them cakes, tell them Papaw sent you. When they ask who Papaw is, tell them to go to Papaw's place on YouTube. I don't have a clue who them people are, guys. All I know is it's good. But what I'm putting together here, I already got my stuff measured out for my pickles. Pickled eggs I'm finna try, and I wrote it down here. I got a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of vinegar, white vinegar, 1/2 cup of water, which I got a little more than a 1/2 cup of each because I got more eggs than I'm gonna be using in that 1-quart jar, so I may make another little jar. Then I didn't have no fresh garlic because actually ain't been too many weeks ago. The garlic I had left over from the garden, I replanted it for next year. So I'm using about 2 tablespoons of dehydrated ground up garlic and about 2 tablespoons of dehydrated minced onions. Then I got about a half, because these was big old cinnamon sticks, so I got about a half of one of these big cinnamon sticks. I boiled my eggs. These are fresh chicken eggs. Now I give y'all a shot of how easy they peel. I put them in here. Once they get to boiling, I boil them on a hard boil for 12 minutes. In my sink, I have ice water already iced up and good and cold before they ever get ready. In 12 minutes, I immediately take them out of there, put them in the ice water, and it makes them fresh eggs peel right off without tearing your eggs. Now, we're going to start mixing this up, but one other ingredient I'm giving a twist here. This recipe, when I come across it, actually called for beets and pickled eggs. And I ain't pickling no beets, I'm just doing eggs. But we got some of this stuff here I got from the local corner market. My friend picked up for me one day. This is called Captain Rodney's Temptation of Jezebel sauce. And I just love this stuff. And I'm gonna probably put about 2 tablespoons in it, hoping some of this flavor gets into them eggs. So I'm gonna start out. I already got my pot. It's probably done got a little too hot right here. But that's good because I need to melt that brown sugar. They say use cold water when you're starting out. Tell you what it's gonna do. I got some hot water right here. I got some hot water right here, guys. That done got a little too hot when I was talking, didn't it? I'm gonna put a little of that hot water in there because I need to melt this brown sugar down. And also I got a half a teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna let that melted that pretty good with that hot water. Now, like I said, they say start out with cold water when you pickling it. To me, you need to melt that sugar. Let me test it. Oh yeah, that cooled the water down, so it ain't hot water. So now we're gonna add, I ain't gonna add all this, I'm gonna add what I think's gonna be a little over a half a cup since I put that little bit of water in there to melt that sugar. I'm gonna add my vinegar. I'm gonna add my garlic and onion. I wish I'd had some whole garlic to mince up and put in there. Now I'm gonna kick the heat up here a little bit. And I'm gonna spoon out, I'm just guessing here. Matter of fact, no more left in this jar. I'm gonna put the rest of that in there because I'd love for that flavor to get into them eggs. Now this is the first time I've tried this recipe and the first time I've ever tried this in the eggs. But while I go, I'll put a little of this and sprinkle a little cinnamon on it. And man, it went together so well. So, we're gonna try cooking that down, getting it to a good boil. I got me a quart jar over here. I actually got me some boiling water while I go and putting it. I ain't gonna be trying to seal this jar because it's actually gonna go straight in the ice box to be eaten. I got my eggs here, but like I said, I got 12 eggs. They ain't that big of eggs because they're from my young Bresse chickens that just started laying about 4 weeks ago, so they're still laying small eggs, which is still plenty big enough eggs. And once I get this ready, all I'm gonna do is put them eggs, as many as I can put in that quart jar, and I'm gonna pour this right over the top of it. And I'm gonna leave mine sitting on the shelf until it cools down to room temperature, and then I'm gonna stick it in the ice box. I hope it makes them eggs taste like that smells. I don't like too strong of vinegary eggs, but you gotta have enough vinegar in them to make them pickled. So So that's why I said I added a little bit more water than the half and half deal. And actually I'm gonna add a little bit more water, because I remember the last pickled eggs I done, I said I was next time was gonna do a quarter vinegar. Instead of half and half, I was gonna do, I guess, a quarter vinegar and 3/4 water. I don't like it that strong of a pickle taste. Again, these are gonna be in an ice box, so I ain't putting them in there to be sealed for long-term storage, so you ain't got to worry about really how much vinegar you're putting in them, because you ain't trying to preserve them in the pickling. I'm trying to get them the way I like flavor that I eat them. I ain't gonna pickle a bunch of eggs up at one time to store up, so as long as you got chickens, you can always make you some pickled eggs when you want. So after that gets to a good rolling boil, guys, we're gonna jar these up. Alright guys, this has come to a boil. Instead of moving over to the sink, I'm gonna move the hot jar right over here. I'm actually gonna pour that into this, since I can pour it into that jar without spilling it. I'm gonna take this to the sink and pour it in here. And I guess I should have put the eggs in the jar first, but now we're gonna place these eggs right down in that jar. Man, I wished I had some of that fresh peppers from the garden. Actually, I think all 12 of these eggs are gonna fit in the quart. Look at there. Since they smaller pullet eggs, we're gonna all 12 of them, so 12 of them fit in there. That's good. I ain't gotta do nothing else. I want that piece of cinnamon stick to go in there, so let me get it out. And I want it down in there. I don't want it floating around on top. Again, I ain't worried about this ceiling. It's gonna sit on the counter here till it gets to room temperature, because it's hot. And then after it cools, we'll put it in the ice box. And at the end of this video, we'll have me and my wife here testing them out. Alright guys, the mail just run. I ended up, this is the 5-pound bottle. So that ought to last quite a while on that little heater in the side by side. I'm just hoping it'll fit under my hood. Also, I received my refillable 1-pound bottles. These 1-pound bottles come with a little Allen wrench and a screw-on plastic top for storage. And right here on the side, there's a little Allen wrench where you stick the Allen wrench and you loosen it off to bleed it as you filling it. Now there's videos online on how to fill these. You still can't just hook them to a big tank, propane tank, like you fill a 20-pound tank or a 100-pound tank or something like that. You still have to fill them off of a 20-pound tank. But this will save a lot of money, and like I said, these tanks right here, this empty tank weighs just about as much as this filled 1-pound tank right here, because it's made of a lot thicker metal, and that's why it's so much safer for filling. These are not intended for filling, even though you can. I do it. I don't suggest doing it. That's why I bought a couple of these. But I'm gonna take this out there and I'm gonna see if it'll fit under my hood. It's done got late in the evening before the FedEx run. I got my heater mounted and we're gonna look at it and see what I did. So we at the side by side, and I got the hose run, and I'll show y'all that in a minute. It's straight up under the heater, drilled a hole in the dash. And it looks like this is gonna fit right here. Now, for video purposes, I'm just gonna stick it in here and hook it up, but I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna get a padded cover to put over this tank so it won't be rubbing on metal to metal right there, and make that a little safer. And I have this line here kind of zip tied somewhere up so it can't be bouncing around. But for right now, like I said, I'm finna hook this up and get in there and turn the heater on and show y'all what kind of little contraption cover I made for it. This little tank also has a gauge right here on it, and I done filled it up with propane. Now how accurate it is, I don't know. I don't figure it's that accurate. It don't seem like much to it. Thing is, when the tank starts getting low on gas, you'll know it because your heater will slow down. Now the hood will lay right over there, but like I said, I'm gonna later on, because I ain't gonna be using side by side. One day I'll get out here and I'll fix this to where it ain't rubbing. Maybe have it where you can zip tie it down where it can't bounce around if you hit bumps. But there's the heater, and this is the little metal hood I put on it. I took my torch and burned it because it had paint on it. This here is a thermometer here, a magnet thermometer. That'll let you know how hot this is getting. Now the reason I got this on here, so when that heater's on, I can push this down and it'll let heat come straight up, because heat rises. Thaw my windshield, plus I have this fan that plugs into the cigarette lighter. And when you push this down, it kind of throws the heat down towards your legs. And when it's up like that, it's going to just heat kind of come out, and this here keep it from rising straight up. Even though before I put this on, it didn't get too hot on the windshield. I let it burn for about 2 hours when I had it hooked to my other bottle, waiting on my little bottle to come in. So I've tested it. Light it. Once you light it, it takes a few seconds, and then the front there light up and go to putting off heat. Guys, now you can get in the passenger side over here. You got all your feet room. Now yeah, the heater's right here in front of you, so if you reached up there and touched it, just like with any heater, you touch that front, it's gonna burn you. But the way these little heaters made, they don't put no heat off the back. One reason I made the shield again, cause heat rises, and I want it to where when I'm sitting in here, I can flip that down. It lets you had to leave a gap back here so some of the heat would rise, because if you didn't, it would block it off and it's get extremely too hot. So this kind of throws some heat down. You got some heat rising for your windshield, and I think it's gonna work out perfect. I know now we can get in here. I may have to take this back off. I just put 2 screws in this right now, and you see it ain't wanting to stay up good. I'm either gonna have to tighten them up a little bit or take this back off and put a little bolt with a nut on it. I think it just needs tightened up just a little bit, and it's gonna be all right. But now me and Coaching can get in here, and he got his feet down there, and he ain't gotta worry about the tank in the way. We can turn this on and off. See, you ain't gotta leave this on all the time, because when these doors is closed, it's gonna get warm up in here. You can turn it on, kind of warm your hands, and then turn it off. Coaching started at a very young age, about 6 months old, riding this side by side with Papaw, and I had that heater in the bottom, so he was taught from a little bitty kid, don't touch that heater because it's hot. Now when we riding, if we need the heater on, of course I'd have to seat belt around him, that way it couldn't nothing happen and throw him up into the heater. But a lot of that's where you gotta teach them young, and you just don't make mistakes. You ain't gotta depend on some safety feature to protect you. That's what's wrong with our world. They all too depended on something else protecting them. Instead of teaching their kids and raising their kids on how to protect yourself. Another thing on the doors, whoever asked the question, that's some of that same slide out seal put around the bottom of my door and on the sides of my door. Covers that air crack because it has a pretty good crack in the door when it's shut. And it still has a crack, but that there makes a lot of difference. Now this is just a soft top, so it's not gonna be sealed up airtight. The hood latches right down. And guys, that works perfect. I'm glad I got the 5 pound, not the 3, because 5 pound means I ain't got to fill it as often. Like I said, I'm gonna come back, fix that where it can't bounce around, put something around it. I'll come up with something so it ain't no metal rubbing on metal. The tank ain't sitting dead straight up, but they work fine sitting on a little angle like that. You just don't want them laid down or upside down. A little angle like that, a propane tank will work just fine. Another thing, I tried mounting this propane tank before on the back somewhere, and I'm gonna tell you, when it gets down there in the lower 20s, the propane in these tanks is so cold, my heater wouldn't burn. So I don't know how they do that up north or in Alaska or stuff, but I'd put that propane tank back inside and it wouldn't get so cold and the heaters work fine. So right here, ain't nothing here. Your motor's really under the seat or toward the back in this side by side, but yet you'll be getting some heat from the motor. So it comes up here and this is where your radiator is. So of course you're gonna get some heat off of it, and that'll keep this tank from getting like freezing where it won't work in the cold weather. So I'm proud of what I come up with here. I wanted something propane. I want something that when I'm sitting still, hunting out of it, don't make much racket, but yet it's propane. You ain't worried about something that's going running off your battery, because you'll run your battery down so quick with some of them electric heaters and stuff, and they don't put off that much heat. Also, some of you might say, well, why did you put it in here permanent, not just use the little buddy heaters, just set them in there or set them down on the floor? Well, I want something permanent in my side by side, and if it's extremely cold, I can take my other little buddy heater and when I'm by myself and then set over there on the floor, because usually Colton's 4 years old, he ain't gonna be with me if it's that cold. So it all worked out. I'm happy. Well, the time has come. It's been about 3 days. We've been letting these sit in the refrigerator. And guys, with the extra juice that I had left over, I cut up an apple and put in this little jar, and we're gonna try this apple in this, what would I say this was? Jezebel pickled eggs.
Pickled eggs.
Jezebel pickled apple. So y'all know I would try anything, but I'm telling you, if he's got any of the flavor that this juice has, I'm gonna like them. So me and Sharon's gonna test these out together. We're gonna try the egg first or the apple first?
Egg first.
The egg first. We'll cut that in half and we'll try it. We're not big pickled egg eaters. We love boiled eggs, but pickled eggs is usually too strong on the pickling, and that's why I didn't put no pickling spices in this. And plus I only put 25% vinegar. Now see, I can eat these. They didn't soak up that much of the the flavoring like the juice is, but with no pickling spices in there.
That actually tastes pretty good.
I think it's pretty good too.
Yeah,
I tell y'all what, since I don't like pickled eggs and she don't neither, this is the best so-called pickled eggs I've ever done. And I've tried different things, especially when I was off working in the travel trailer just by myself. So far this is the best, flavor recipe.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try the apple now. Never done an apple before. That's kind of good.
Yeah, I don't even know what it tastes like.
Well,
but
it
it's
don't.
good.
Well, no, it ain't.
I
But
mean,
it seemed like it soaked up more of that flavor than the egg did.
Yeah. That's good too.
These will get eat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's proof, guys. Don't be scared to experiment and try things. Because when I actually was getting this out to do these eggs, at that point I didn't have in my mind of using the Jezebel sauce. And I just seen it in the icebox and knowed how much I liked it. And I said, well, I'm finna try it. I better eat with my fingers before I cut my tongue with that knife.
Yeah. I'll have to go to the ER.
Ain't bad.
It's not bad.
It probably could have used it, since I didn't put the pickling spices, probably could have used a little stouter vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
Half and half vinegar and no pickling spices probably would have been. So we're going to give that one a thumbs up, and we'll see y'all next time.